Writing the book is the fun part. After that comes the editing. I used to loathe editing, but over the years I've learned to appreciate it, and I know just how important it is. Structural editing. It's sometimes called developmental or substantive editing, but what is it? It never fails to amaze me that even after 50 plus books, each book that I have edited is always a bit different. So the notes are different, the type of work that's different, and some books require a lot of work, some books require like a partial rewrite sometimes if I really go off-piste and get a little bit lost in the woods. Fortunately, that doesn't happen as often as it used to, but I always am a little bit wary every time I get the notes back because I don't know what to expect. And sometimes my own instinct can't even be followed either. So sometimes I'll be like really gung-ho about a book. I'll think this is like the best thing I've ever written, and I'll send it to the editor and I'll get some critique back that means that I've perhaps really I've been too close to the story and I've gone kind of away from actually what I meant to say. And this is always quite humbling, and it means I have to really dig deep and really look at the book honestly and start from scratch. Kind of rebuilding it. And then there are some books that are not like that at all. Some books are actually quite an easy edit and are really more character focused, and I'm always really grateful for those. And I am happy to report, and we shall wait and see later on, but that The Chief's Wild Promise looks like it's going to be the latter rather than the former. So this one is going to be focused mostly on the character arcs. So I thought I would go into a little bit more detail about what I'll actually be fixing. Now, I don't want to go into massive detail because I don't want to spoil the story for you if you're planning to read it, but I did think that I would bring my notes up behind the screen here so you won't see it, and just tell you a little bit about what I'm going to be doing this morning. So one second while I just bring up my notes. So these notes are just one page, which made me very happy because I was like, phew, that's great news. So it seems that my editor is actually really pleased with the plot and the conflicts and the setting. All those things at the moment seem to be working quite well. Sometimes making some edits in this first pass can actually change things for the second pass, for the line edit, which means things have to be altered a bit, but we'll see how we go. So I have two main characters. I have Bran McKinnon, who is the hero, and McKenna McGregor, who is the heroine. Now, what I'm going to be focusing on for this edit is actually their arcs, their character arcs. So that was really the main thing that had to be focused on. And so we're looking at Bran, and I'm just being a little bit more kind of cognizant of his background, his backstory, because backstory is everything for a character. It kind of forms their decisions, it informs like how they're going to kind of react to things actually in the moment because of what's happened before. So in the beginning he's actually alone, he's feeling very alone. He arrives at Majuni Castle in Perthshire, and everything kind of gets triggered because it kind of brings back his kind of past. So I'm really wanting to focus on the fact that he had this brutal father, his sister betrayed him by marrying the enemy, and he feels completely alone in the world, and I really want to kind of accentuate that in this pass. And then I want to really make his journey more evident. So I want you to feel that there's kind of step forwards and step backs, because I think that's everyone's character growth isn't linear, and I think sometimes in the first draft you make it quite simplistic, and the second draft is all about kind of adding nuance. So the fact is that, you know, for every step forward he takes in the beginning, he takes 2 steps back, and I want you to feel that as the reader. So that's Bran. So I've got my work cut out with Bran a little bit, and I also, like I said, want to focus really on his relationship with his sister, and the fact that she was his his pillar. She was his older sister. He wasn't. His mother was cold. She died quite young. His father was really brutal and, you know, very controlling, and so his sister was the person he counted on. So it's a personal betrayal rather than the fact that she went off with the enemy. It's a personal betrayal because he feels that she really let him down, and she was the one person he thought he could count on. So you can see that sounds kind of exciting. I just need to make that sing on the page. And then McKenna Now McKenna is an interesting character because she's she's a warrior woman, and I didn't want her to be kind of like a cliche of that. And in the first draft, I was quite careful because I also have her appearing in the previous books too, so I'd be able to work a little bit on her character. And I didn't want her to appear like this kind of tomboy. I wanted her to appear like a woman who actually loves fashion, loves girly things, but at the same time actually works in her father's guard. She serves in the Majourney Guard. She can use a sword, she can use a dagger, she knows how to use her fists. She's actually really tough, and she's proven herself many times. So you've got this aspect of her, but I thought it would be, and the editor thought that it would be a really good idea to kind of highlight her vulnerabilities during the story. The fact that she's actually, although she's tough, she's actually a woman who's capable of great empathy. And she's also, although she's got a really tough shell, inside she's a bit of a marshmallow, and she also kind of needs to toughen up a little bit emotionally because she's been a bit sheltered. She's the youngest of 5 daughters. Her parents in many ways have kind of indulged her. So emotionally she doesn't have the same toughness and resilience that she does physically. So that will be a really lovely arc to kind of focus on with her. So, and there's one other little detail which I won't go into. There's something that I added into the previous book. It was something, a very important part of the previous book, and I brought it into this book. But my editor said that it was a little bit repetitive, the way I'd use this thing, and so I need to kind of alter it so that it doesn't seem like I'm repeating some of the things from the first book. You want things to be fresh. I know that sounds very cryptic because I'm not telling you what it is, but if you've read the second book in the series, The Laird's Wild Promise, you might guess what I'm talking about. So yeah, this thing needs to be kind of altered a little bit so that you feel that it's fresh and not a repeat of book 2. So that is what I'm going to be doing this morning. So I'm going to dive in and check in with you later. And here we have the Chief's Wild Promise. This is the title page, then we have the blurb, then we have the copyright information, we have content warnings, then we have the dedications, and then we always have a blank page before the contents because that's the way Amazon likes you to format it. And then I have my maps, which are a new addition. So we've got the Isle of Mull. So Dunara on the top there, that's where the McKinnon clan chief is coming from, where he lives. You spend a little bit of time there at the end of the story. So most of the story, though, is taking place in Perthshire. So you have here, so my little cursor, you have here Majourney Castle, and you're going to spend a little bit of time in Finlara Castle, and there's the Isle of Mull over there, so that's where you travelled from. So, scrolling down, I've got, I've used a quote from Elizabeth Barrett Browning for the story. I always like to do that with the books. And we start with A Knife to the Throat, which is chapter 1, and so I'm going to dive in here and start working on Bran's character to start with. And I forgot to add that I always like to listen to some kind of music when I work. This is a very relaxing instrumental with a Lord of the Rings theme, and this gets me in the mood and helps me concentrate. I'm back after a morning of editing. I've actually just gone and had lunch and actually just had a little bit of a rest, and I'm actually going to go for a walk to clear my head, even though it's a bit grey outdoors today. I've done the first 30 pages, which is actually quite a lot, and in fact my brain feels like it's been through a mincer, as structural editing always does that to me because it's so intense and you're having to get so deep into the story. So I definitely need a break. I'm not sure if I'll do much this afternoon. I'll see how it goes, but I'm going to go and take a break now, get some fresh air, and I shall check in with you a little bit later on. I have finished editing for the day. It is about 2:30 in the afternoon. That's about my limit, I'm afraid. I have done up to chapter 5 now, so that's about page 31, 32. It's going well. It's just pretty intense because, like I said before, it is a character-driven story and the plot and the characters are just all interwoven. So when you change one thing, it affects another, but it is actually going really well. So generally, for me, structural edits can take around 2 weeks, and that's usually me editing all day. So I have a break at lunchtime, and then I get stuck into it in the afternoon as well, and that'll be 2 weeks of it's quite a heavy edit. I'm thinking with this one though, it's not going to be quite as heavy. Like I said, I'm actually 5 chapters in, which is a really good start. So I don't have to push myself quite so hard. That said, there's still plenty to do, and tomorrow I'll take you with me. I'm going to be working at a cafe, and so I'm going to go for a walk in the morning and write or edit in a different place, so I'll take you with me. But yes, it takes around 2 weeks, so I'm thinking probably a week and a half. I'll give myself 2 weeks, why not? This afternoon I'm going to be working on my newsletter. I send out one every 2 weeks, so on Thursday the next one's going out, so I better start writing it. And I've got some admin stuff to get done. So that's me, done for the day. Like I said, it's quite tiring and draining actually doing structural edits, so it's better to do it in bite-sized chunks while you are fresh. I am on my way to a cafe in the old town, so I tend to always do a bit of writing or editing once a week with some writer friends. It's always good to get out of the house and do something a little bit different, so I'm heading up there now and I'm taking you with me. So of course it's editing, and I am up to chapter 5. I am pretty pleased with how it's going so far. I have added in about 900 words, so the word count is slowly going up, which is not a bad thing. It's currently sitting at just under 66,000 words, so if it's a little bit more than that, I won't be sorry either. And here we are on the Royal Mile. I never get tired of this view. It's a gorgeous one of my favourites in Edinburgh. Here is today's workstation. So we're all set up and ready to go, and I have a large cup of black coffee. It's decaf because I can't handle the caffeinated stuff much these days, but we are all ready to get started on some edits. It is Friday morning and I'm about to embark on the 3rd day of structural editing for the Chief's Wild Promise. So yesterday morning at the cafe I managed to get 4 or 5 chapters done. I think it was 5 chapters, so I'm up to chapter 9 now, which means I'm making good progress, and I'm hoping to do another 4 or 5 chapters today, which will bring me up to the halfway point of the book, more or less. So yeah, it's progressing well, and I'm getting really into the meat of the story now. So I'm really trying to kind of untangle the characters and make sure that I'm working on both of them at the same time as I work my way through the book. So that's quite fun because, of course, if I'm changing his reactions to things, I need to change her reactions to things. But I'm really, at this point, when I get to almost the halfway point, I really kind of get lost in the story again. And there are scenes, for example, that have me like kicking my feet and laughing. Like there's a particular scene in this book where the hero and heroine actually have like a fight. She challenges him to like a fist fight, but the lead up to this scene where there's a lot of banter and chemistry was just so much fun. And when I read it again, I was like, oh my God, did I write that? It's a fantastic moment. It's a good scene. And when I'd written the book initially, I hadn't really thought about it, but actually when I'm working my way through it now, I'm like, yeah, this scene is definitely staying. So I hope there are many more scenes like this as I work my way through the book. And so I'm going to get started now, and I shall check in with you later. It is mid-morning, and I'm having a little treat. It's a Cadbury cream egg. It is just after Easter, and this one is straight out of the freezer. I like them really cold, so I needed a little bit of a chocolate break. The editing is going very well though. I'm up to chapter 12, and I've had to actually cut out a few bits and pieces actually. So and earlier in the week I'd actually added around 1,000 words, and now I've actually removed about 1,000 words. That often happens where I kind of add bits in and then I take them away and then add more bits in. So I'm hoping that because I've actually removed 1 or 2 bits now, that I will actually have a new scene to add in later on, which will bring the word count up again. But yeah, this often happens during the structural edit. So I'm going to finish off this little chocolate egg and dive back in. That's the end of the day's edits. It's been a productive morning. I am up to chapter 15 now. So I am just over halfway through, which is great for 3 days work actually. That's probably the fastest I've ever done half a book with structural edits. Usually it does take me a bit longer, but this one I'm really in the flow with. So I have removed about 1,500 words, which means those words have got to be put back in somewhere, and I think it's going to be the next chapter that I work on actually, that some extra stuff gets put back in to kind of balance things. But it's going really well. It's, like I said, one of my easier structural edits, because sometimes it can feel like you're sweating blood, and I end up with like a bit of a headache at the end of it. I could do some more edits this afternoon, but I've actually got some other things to do instead. So I will leave it for now. However, it's Saturday and usually tomorrow, and usually I don't actually do any writing or editing on at the weekend, but I think I will this weekend, because it's going to be fabulous weather next week, and here in Scotland, when it's fabulous weather, you've got to grasp it with both hands. So I think we might take a day trip, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and take the day off work. So if that's the case, I shall make up for that day by working tomorrow. And the weather's supposed to be a bit grey anyway. So it is Monday morning, a start of another week. And I have got my coffee here, very important to get started with. And I was going to do some editing on Saturday actually. I had it all planned, but then I woke up on Saturday morning and I was like, what are you doing? You don't need to do editing today. You can take the weekend off. I'm actually ahead of things with this particular structural edit. And I wanted to do an extra day because I'm planning to take the day off during the week, because it's going to be a beautiful sunny day, I think either Tuesday or Wednesday. And in Scotland, when it's sunny, you have to take advantage. And there's a castle I'd like to see. I thought, oh, since I'm taking the day off, maybe I should work on Saturday morning instead. But you know what? I cleaned my flat instead. So here we are, back to the editing, and I'm actually feeling really refreshed and ready to go and excited to dive in. So I'm just past the first of these spicy scenes, and I'm really pleased how it's going. I had to do quite a bit of work on this particular scene because emotionally things had changed for the characters, a bit about what I spoke about last week. So this meant that I had to change actually some of the lead up to it as well, and I may actually go back this morning and add in a few more kind of conversations and kind of lead up so that you get like a proper build up and tension. So that's what I'm going to do this morning, and then I will just march on with the story. So I think I said I was up to chapter 15. So it's been 2 days and I've forgotten already. So I shall get started and check in with you later. It's been a busy morning, a very intense morning. So I started with chapter 15 and I am now part of the way through chapter 17. So that's only 2 chapters for a whole morning's work. Sometimes that happens. This was actually quite an important part of the book, and I had to rewrite 1 or 2 bits, and I had to really concentrate, and these things just can't be rushed. So that means that I probably will do a few chapters in the afternoon as well, just because I like to keep the momentum going, and hopefully I will get to about chapter 19 or 20 by the end of the day. But now I'm going to stop for a bit. I'm going to make some chili beans for lunch and then go for a wee stroll, and I will see you back here later. It's nearly 5 p.m. in the evening and I am done for the day. Done. Not done the book, but done, mentally fried. So it was a slow start to the day. I only did 2 chapters before lunch, but then I had a nice lunch and a bit of a stroll, and then I was reinvigorated with energy, and I've now got up to chapter 23. So I did a lot in the afternoon, and I feel like I've been on an emotional roller coaster, and everything's really starting to come together in the story. Often when I do the edits on a story that requires a lot of character change, a lot of emotional kind of nuancing, I find that most of those changes actually happen in the first half of the book, and that the second half often just has to kind of match it. So for that reason, it's been a little bit easier as I go on. But it's pretty exciting now because, like I said, I'm up to chapter 23, and there are 28 chapters, so there are 5 more chapters to go and an epilogue. So maybe I can get it done tomorrow, we shall see. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go and make myself a nice cup of tea and relax. So it is Tuesday afternoon, and I was going to record actually this morning before I started my editing for the day, but I was so focused on what I was doing that I just jumped in and got some work done. And then popped out for a bit of lunch in the park and sat and had a picnic because it is a gorgeous sunny day today. In Edinburgh, it's too nice to be locked up inside, and so when I've finished editing for the day at around 5ish, I'm going to head out and enjoy the long Scottish evening. So it's going to get up to about 21 degrees centigrade today, so that's pretty warm for Edinburgh and for Scotland. So how is the book going? I am up to chapter 27 or 28 at the moment, so I'm really near the end, and then I've got the epilogue afterwards. The end actually has been taking a little bit longer than I thought because there were a few things to tie up, and once again the character arcs had changed so much from the original that I had to make sure that the resolution, because the resolution is so important in those last few chapters, that the resolution kind of feels fulfilling and feels earned, and that you truly believe that these people have gone on this arc and changed, so that they're markedly quite different at the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And I think for most genres that's really important, but for romance it's just uber important, because not only do you have obviously these two people finding love, but you also find these two people are learning about themselves, and they're growing, and they're becoming better people, and they're discovering a bit about life. So you really need to have that arc, and this one is actually a very satisfying one. I would say it's one of my favourites actually that I've written in a while, and the conclusion is quite a drawn out one compared to some of my books, but I think it's a good thing because I leave things, so I have the main action plot that I actually end up resolving a few chapters from the end, but then I have other conflicts, and these are internal ones that I actually have been able to kind of tie up as we get towards the end of the story. So that's what I'm working on now, and actually the final chapter is actually about this final kind of yes moment where we see that the hero, or the main male character, has actually got to a point where he actually feels like he's actually respected by his people. And I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to ruin it for you if you're going to read the book, but let's just say that it's a really satisfying arc. So I've got a coffee, which is just a wee one for after lunch, and you can probably see I'm glowing a bit from being out in the sun. It really is just beautiful out there. And so I'm going to continue on and finish up, and when I have actually got to the end of this edit, I shall pop back on and let you know. So we're all done. Yay, I can't believe it. It's Tuesday afternoon, it's 3 p.m, and I have finished the structural edit of The Chief's Wild Promise. So go me. And it actually has been one of my easier edits. I've had 1 or 2 days where I've sort of ended the day like absolutely mentally exhausted, but that's normal with structural edits because there's so much thinking that needs to happen. But actually 1.5 weeks, actually no, it's about a week, that because I think I started last Wednesday, didn't I? So it's been less than a week since I embarked on the structural edit, which is probably one of my fastest edits that I've ever done. It is book 3 in a series, and perhaps I would know this world really well, so that was one of the reasons why I didn't require so many edits on the story. McKenna as well, who's the heroine of the story, she has quite an important role in the previous book, and I even give her a couple of point of view scenes, which I don't usually do. I usually keep the POV just the current hero and heroines. But in that previous book, there were a couple of scenes where I really felt that you needed to kind of hear things from her point of view, and you need to be in her head. And as a result, perhaps I knew her a little bit better, I don't know. But as a result, it's flowed really well. So I am about to upload it onto email and send it to my editor, and it'll go at this point to be line edited, which means that the editor will go through line by line, as it says, and check things, but they'll also be looking at the story. And it's important, because sometimes when you're making all these changes, you change one thing, it affects something else. But I have actually been reading as I've been going along and making sure that that I keep all the balls in the air, to speak, but you never know. So the editor will be looking at that as well, and usually after the line edit is done and I incorporate those changes, and it usually takes a few days to do that as well, then I send it to my Kindle and I actually read it like a book for the first time. I'll do it 2 times, but this time I'll read it like a book, and I mark it up on Kindle. You can make notes and things and highlight things, so I'll mark the whole thing up And usually when I do it this way, I get about 400 changes, and this is after I've already made edits. So it's a big, it's a big process. So then 400 edits, then I go through and I change them all, and then it goes back to the editor for the copy edit. Then after the copy edit, I make more changes. Then it comes back to me I make those changes, and then it goes to me. I send it to my Kindle again for what I call my kind of final proof, and then it gets proofread by the editor a couple more times. So you can see it really goes through a process, but it does mean that in the end you get a book that is actually very polished and has been worked on a lot. In fact, it gets to the stage that, and I'm sorry to say this, but literally at the end, before the book goes out to the advanced review readers, I just can't stand the sight of it at that point. I've just read it so many times, and in fact, at that point, I can't even tell you what's good or bad about it because I've got no distance. So at that point, it's ready. That's when I know it's ready. So at this point, I've still got a lot of perspective. I can really stand back and see what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, but we're only kind of at that first stage now. It's the hardest stage, but it's the first stage, and it's now done. So I hope you enjoyed my long and rambly vlog all about doing the first stage of editing, which is the structural edit of one of my historical romance novels. I really enjoyed bringing you along with me, and I hope you kind of geeked out like I do on all the little details to do with what it takes to edit a book. There is so much behind the scenes work that goes into creating a book, and it's not just the writing process, that first draft, it's everything else. So if you did enjoy this, please leave a little blue heart in the comments below, and I will be back soon with another vlog or a writing update or something else.